Only in Kentucky can a military base become the first place in the country to lock up captured German prisoners of war, and also where a young Army lieutenant named Jackie Robinson began his baseball career. Hi, I'm Michael, and I'm learning a little bit more about Kentucky, one county at a time, all 120 of them. And today I'm learning about Union County. If you look at the very northwestern tip of Kentucky, Union County sits right at the tri-state area junction where Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky collide. The landscape is defined by the Ohio River, which wraps around its northern and western borders for nearly 38 miles. And the physical terrain belongs to the western coalfield, where broad, flat agricultural floodplains are broken up by sudden island-like hill masses rising hundreds of feet into the air. For centuries, the river edges were home to complex indigenous societies. Between the years 1400 and 1650, a thriving Mississippian culture built a large ceremonial complex and village at Slack Farm near Uniontown. They left behind a central platform mound and ancestral burial grounds that would sleep undisturbed beneath the soil for centuries. The modern landscape took shape after the Revolutionary War when Virginia veterans arrived to claim vast military land grants. By 1811, the state legislature officially carved out the territory, naming it Union County to reflect the unified voice of the local settlers who wanted their own government. They built a log courthouse known as the Log Temple of Justice and established the county seat of Morganfield. Right as the new towns were forming, the wild river bottomlands caught the attention of artist John James Audubon. He lived in the area as a storekeeper, spending his days exploring the Henderson Sloughs to sketch the thousands of migratory birds that still flock there today. Meanwhile, down on the river, a bitter personal feud between two rival ports nearly ended in a deadly duel before the state stepped in, merging the competing settlements into a single town called Uniontown. In 1840, the county seat witnessed an incredible national moment. 31-year-old Illinois politician named Abraham Lincoln led a vibrant political parade across the river from Shawneetown, riding alongside white horses, pulling floats to deliver his only political speech in his native state of Kentucky. And just 3 years later, a Belgian immigrant unlocked the county's underground fortune by opening the area's first commercial coal mine, giving rise to the historic mining town of DeKoven. But the arrival of the 1860s exposed a stark contradiction. Despite its patriotic name, Union County was pretty sympathetic to the Confederacy. The county sent over 600 volunteers to the Southern cause, compared to just really a handful of Union soldiers. In 1862, Confederate guerrillas seized the port town of Caseyville, triggering a river standoff that ended with Union troops occupying the town and arresting nearly every male resident. By the time the war ended, the county's brick courthouse had been burned to the ground. During the Reconstruction era after the war, the county rebuilt, erecting a brand new courthouse in 1872, still stands today. Coal mining boomed and a new rail junction gave birth to the industrial town of Sturgis. But life along the river always carried risk. In 1937, the Great Ohio River flood completely submerged some areas, forcing entire communities to rethink its relationship with water. That relationship changed forever in 1942 when the federal government seized 36,000 acres of farmland to build Camp Breckenridge. It was a wartime city that housed 55,000 people. In 1943, it made national history as the first camp in America to process German prisoners of war. But life for these 3,000 prisoners wasn't spent trapped behind iron bars. The government paid them 10 cents an hour to work on local Union County farms, where they routinely sat down to share home-cooked meals with local families. Many prisoners later wrote that they ate far better as POWs in Kentucky than their own families did back in war-torn Europe. It was into this intense military environment that a Czech soldier named Daniel Mayer arrived. Drafted into the German army against his will, wounded, and then plagued by severe homesickness, Mayer began writing heartbreaking letters to his wife in Europe. To pass the time, camp officials gave him a brush and asked him to paint the walls of the non-commissioned officers club. It was during this exact same time window, by the way, that in 1944, a young lieutenant named Jackie Robinson was stationed at that same base, facing down the military's strict segregation rules just before breaking the color barrier in Major League Baseball. In fact, Robinson's entire legendary career started because of a wild chance encounter on the camp recreation field. A stray baseball sailed his way, and when Robinson scooped it up and threw a perfect strike back, a fellow soldier noticed his arm. That soldier was a former Negro League pitcher who immediately handed Robinson the team owner's contact info, launching his journey to the majors right from Union County. But I digress. While soldiers trained outside, Mayer spent 15 months painting a breathtaking 20 by 30 foot oil mural of the Castle of Wernick from his homeland. He finished his masterpiece in the summer of 1945 and laid down his brushes for good, dying just weeks later without ever seeing his family again. But his story doesn't end there. In 1999, a foreign buyer tried to purchase the historic murals to rip them out of the building. The county rallied, blocking the sale and securing a $1.3 million grant to transform the old service club into the Camp Breckenridge Museum. And at the grand opening in 2000, Mayor's daughter, Martha, traveled all the way from Germany. She was only 6 when her father died, but standing in that room in Western Kentucky, she finally saw the profound legacy that he was able to leave behind. Once World War II ended, the military base saw a brief revival, training soldiers for the Korean War, while the government built a heavy levee to protect Uniontown from the unpredictable Ohio River. By the 1960s, the old military grounds found new life as the Earl C. Clement Jobs Corps Center, which remains one of the largest educational and vocational academies in the country. And to keep the river commerce moving, the Army Corps of Engineers constructed the sprawling John T. Myers Locks and Dam downstream. Earlier I mentioned the county's ancient history. Well, it returned to the national spotlight in 1987 under devastating circumstances. Looters descended onto the Slack Farm, Mississippian site using heavy machinery to destroy the prehistoric village and desecrate hundreds of Native American graves. The resulting national outrage became the direct catalyst for strict new state and federal laws protecting sacred indigenous burial grounds across America. Today, Union County remains a resilient rural borderland. The economy is still powered by deep layers, ranking among the top corn and soybean producers in Kentucky while maintaining an active underground coal infrastructure. Locals can gather at the Moffett Lake Recreational Area or explore the thousands of acres of the Higginson-Henry Wildlife Woods. Every summer, about 13,000 residents welcome visitors to the Kentucky Bike Rally and the historic Morganfield Corn Festival, celebrating a heritage forged along the working waters of the Ohio. Today, the population is roughly 13,000. So, that's Union County. What'd I get wrong this time?